Okay, Lauren, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. And since you're recording, folks who are joining late or who can't join can just watch it after, right? Okay, terrific. Well, good morning, everybody. We hope that you're having a great week. As we're going into week 3 of the drive, we wanted to host just a short session to give some tips and tricks for all of our new captains who are running the respective drives at their firms for the first time this year. If you are not a new captain, you're a veteran captain, we hope that you might find some things helpful from this presentation as well. And feel free to jump in if you have any additional tips or tricks as a veteran captain. And some of the points that we're going to go over today, we more generally addressed in our in the kickoff meeting, but we wanted to use today's as an opportunity to provide you a bit more specific tips and tricks that you might consider using at your firm. We've divided the tips and tricks into kind of 5 major categories: planning your drive, outreach, how to build motivation and building excitement, getting help, and then just a few reminders at the end. So there's a lot of information that we might be giving you, and it may not be applicable to your drive or your firm. So we're going to try to give you as many tips and tricks as we can that we find to be helpful and effective in prior years, but of course, pick and choose the ones that work for your drive and your firm specifically. So before we jump in, does anyone have any questions? All right, so if not, we'll jump straight into the first category, which is planning your drive. So as captains of your firm's respective drives, we recommend that you get organized and figure out for yourself what the drive should look like this year for your firm and how you'd like to run it. So, and it's helpful because this is a long-ish drive for you to have kind of benchmarks, for you to kind of assess where you're at in the drive, if you need to make any changes to your strategy, et cetera. So we recommend you considering creating like a calendar for your drive. In the email that I sent out, I believe it was yesterday afternoon, if you scroll to the bottom of that email, there's a sample calendar for a drive for a peer firm here in Boston. They actually kicked off their drive just last week, last Friday, they kicked off their drive. So they kicked it off, a little bit later after the GBLS official kickoff. And so we thought showing you their calendar might be helpful for those of you that haven't kicked off your drive yet, or for those of you whose drive is just now kind of getting off to a start. In your calendar, consider whether you want to include specific dates for when you want to reach out to people at your firm, to associates, when you want to draw prizes, when you want to host a surprise raffle. Those are types of things that you can include in your calendar just so that you're tracking your progress. The next recommendation here for planning your drive is consider scheduling regular check-ins with your co-captains if you have one, or if you have a committee with your committee. We find that regular check-ins with folks who have agreed to assist you with the drive or amongst the co-captains is very important, again, to assess if you need to make any changes to your drive, if you want to make any changes to your messaging, and then to identify any important immediate action items. Chloe, do you want to move into the outreach portion?
Thanks, Sweet. So I'm going to talk a little bit about reaching out to your colleagues. So the first thing is don't be afraid to remind them about the drive often. I'm sure many of you know that we all get distracted with our client work and it's easy to ignore emails. And so the more emails you send, honestly, the better. I have a lot of colleagues who are very grateful to me who sent out a lot of emails back when I was captain. So don't think you're being ignored or obnoxious. Just feel free to keep sending them out. And another thing is sending out weekly updates about the drive is a great way to go. And you can show sort of people where your firm is at. One thing that I did, Foley used to be a little bit of a lower division, and a lot of those firms weren't firms that we necessarily think of as like peers in a work field. So I would oftentimes pull in numbers from firms that weren't in our same division just to get us a little bit more rivalry with firms that we work with a lot or compete for work a lot, which I think is a good way to excite people. Another thing is just making giving as easy as possible. Include links in your emails, include those QR codes, bold, the Venmo, whatever you can do to really draw people's attention right to how they can donate is really helpful. Another thing is to make your ask really clear. I know a lot of firms will do, oh, hey, you should give 10% more than you did last year, or your billable rate, or some other number. And that's really, really great right now. And then sort of later in the drive, another approach is really focusing on your participation and really telling people, hey, maybe you can only give $100, but we really want to get our participation up. So $100 would be great. And just really advising them to focus on the participation towards the end of the drive. And then another thing you can let people know is that they can make donations in installments. The full number will go towards the drive number, but they don't have to give it all right at once. And that's a way to help people be a little bit flexible with their budgeting. And then the last thing I have is think about ways that you can do in-person outreach. So we have an example that someone did where they set up a donut stand at the entrance of the building, had a laptop out and said, hey, if you give money right now, you can have a donut. So things like that are a really great way to get people involved and sort of just make them excited about the drive and see how passionate you are. So those are some outreach suggestions. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Courtney to talk about building excitement.
Hey everyone. So like everyone said, I'm going to touch on some points that we spoke about during kickoff, but maybe in a little more detail. One of the biggest things that you can do to help your own firm increase is keep referring back to that number you raised last year. At minimum, that should be the threshold for what you want to meet. And arguably, I'm not saying it is, but maybe you play that it would be embarrassing to not even hit that number that we hit last year, right? That's one approach to it. If you have more associates this year, that's more of a reason to hit a higher number than you did last year. If everyone's billable hours went up at the start of the new year, again, another reason to reach a higher number than you did last year. So that's one way to really hit home on increasing your numbers and getting the donations up. Another thing is people like a pat on the back. I'm just gonna say what it is. They like to be recognized. So, maybe you accidentally hit that reply all button and say thank you after someone gives. Or maybe every Friday you say, send out an email and say, hey, I just want to thank Joe, Susie, Sally, and Tim for contributing to the drive. They all just bumped us up to the next, 100 or 500 or grand bracket or whatever. And people want to, be similar to their colleagues. So that might help increase participation. Another way, in addition to, it's not shaming, but it's actually praising people that did do it or recognizing last year's goals, is also incentives. I know I've said it as a captain, which I was last year, I wasn't great about reaching out to partners. And I know some of you are first year, some of you aren't, but if you can reach out even to someone more senior in the firm and say, hey, do you know a partner that has season tickets? I can't help but think your firms are similar to mine. There's a few partners who I always see trying to either sell their season tickets or get season tickets for events. So this year I sent an email, despite being a co-chair, not a captain, to a few of those partners that I always see the emails come from, and just said, hey, look, I know you all got the email, we're doing this associate drive, but it would really be great if you could help incentivize. Do any of you have any tickets to sporting events that you aren't using that we could use as a raffle? And I will tell you, I was extremely surprised. One or two of the responses I got is, hey, Courtney, I don't have season tickets, but I'm happy to buy them as long as they're within reason. I can't promise you I'm buying tickets behind home plate for a Red Sox Yankees game, but I'll buy it. And so I said, they're like, are there any requirements? I said, if you can buy 2 tickets, whatever you can buy, I'm sure is appreciated. And they're being raffled off. I know my firm, announced Friday. They have until Wednesday at 5:00 this week. And that's one. And then another partner did it because that partner replied all. And then another partner is also raffling off his preseason Patriots tickets, right? So, you know, while some of you might not know all these people, you work for partners, you might have more senior friends that are associates, and see if they know it. It really does help. And look, I get it. I didn't do it in the past, but as I've become more senior in my firm, you know, I am starting to feel more comfortable, and you can go to those people for help. The other thing is, don't forget to pitch the TIA's event, right? I know I've said it, not trying to sound like a broken record, but who doesn't want to be outside in the summer, have an excuse to leave work and not bill for a few hours at the TIA's event, right? All you have to do is donate. You could donate $1, you can donate when walking in, anyone that's contributed, go. So just to remind people of it, all the food will be paid for by GBLS. We'll be outside. We have an area roped off that is especially for us. So those are just a few ideas. If you need more, reach out to any of us, right? Like, we're all willing to help you. So I think Nate's going to take over from here and give some more insight.
Yes, thank you, Courtney. And that's a perfect segue into my section. Get help. Do not do it alone. Reach out to us. We're here to talk through whatever strategies you're considering. If you're having an issue that you didn't expect, we can help you problem solve. So all of us co-chairs, Lauren is an incredible resource as well, and the rest of the GBLS team. Also, at your own firms, connect with your professional development team, liaison, whatever the structure is at your firm. People in HR or professional development can come up with ideas or have influence that you might not have on your own, especially if you're a more junior person at the firm. So it's great to reach out to them. Reach out to your friends in other practice groups or who sit on other floors. They can probably have more influence within their own spheres. And so get more people involved and have them do some of the work for you. When I was at a bigger firm previously, I would always have the first years, I'd have them as kind of, deputies or whatever role we call the co-captains, whatever. And that would get them involved, and it would be an opportunity for them to meet more people at the firm. And it also guaranteed that they would donate if they were helping me recruit people. So it's a little tricks like that can be really useful. So just reach out to more people. And as Courtney was talking about, reach out to partners at the firm. Not only will they perhaps give incentives, but they can also, I guess, give the incentive of their public support for the drive. And perhaps if they send an email within their practice group, that will convince all the associates within the group to take it more seriously and give a nice donation. So take advantage of those resources, those other dedicated people at the firm, even if they're not associates. And also talk to your prior drive captains. I know some firms shuffle the captains more regularly than others. Sometimes the captains are always in their first or second year, but those people that were previously in your shoes are great resources. You can hear from them about what they did, what worked, what didn't work, and you can come up with the best plan for your firm in particular. And last but not least, ask Lauren. There may be a GBLS board member at your firm who could be super influential and really promote the drive and get people fired up and excited to contribute. So those are just some ideas. And again, I said this last time too, if you forget any of this, that's why we're here. Reach out to us. We can go over it again with you. We can provide written materials for you and really help you make your drive a success. And now I'll turn it back to Twee for some reminders.
Michelle, do you want to take the reminder section? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Slight change.
I'm working off old notes. I apologize.
So these have been really great tips and tricks, and we just wanted to wrap this up with a few reminders. So first, it's really never too late to start your drive. So some firms, conduct the whole drive within a week or two. So, never feel like it's too late to get started. Anytime that you start, you can still make a significant difference. And sort of along that line, if you need an extension, just ask Lauren. I don't think GBLS ever turns down the chance to raise more money. So they would be happy, if you feel like you just need more time to reach out to associates and you think people would be willing to give more, please just ask Lauren and she would be more than happy to work with you. And then also, we've talked about this before, but just ask your firm early about the match because, a firm match can be a really powerful way to increase your impact and raise more money for GBLS. And I think we've talked about before, but there are so many different ways that the match can be structured. And, you know, it can be based on matching a certain fixed amount. It can be based on, you know, matching like actual donations one-to-one. There are many different ways it can be set up, and each way, you know, can be powerful and can really help a lot. But it is important to get started on that early because, you know, it generally involves firm management and such, and, you know, they're not always maybe the fastest in terms of making decisions. So the more time you have, the better. And again, you know, if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to any of us and to Lauren. Lauren, you know, as everyone has said, is a great resource, and we're always happy to answer questions. I mean, if you have questions about even like how to get started, like who in your firm to talk to, we can sort of help you talk through that and maybe try to find the right people and the right approach to get started on that. But, you know, as we said, it is important to get started on that early. But yeah, I think those are the main reminders that we have. So I don't know if now we want to open it up to questions or anyone has any final comments.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And yes, we're happy to take any questions. If you have any questions that or issues or concerns that you've experienced so far in the drive, we're happy to chat through those as well. Okay, I'll take silence as none, but please do reach out to us directly if you just don't want to speak in a large forum. And Lauren, I'll hand it over to you if there's anything else you'd like to touch on before we break.
I don't have much to add except for thank you all so much. Thank you to the co-chairs for running this amazing session. And thank you to those who attended. And just to echo everybody, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, any of the co-chairs. We're here to help, and we want to help you approach the things that might be acting as stumbling blocks if you're feeling a little nervous about the drive. So if you have any questions, please reach out. And thank you so much for everything that you're doing for GBLS.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.